We're joined on the stage right now by Stephan Ng from Moon 5 Technologies. You are working on something that I think a lot of people, especially here in New York, are going to really, really appreciate. It's that conversation we have all the time about, well, if you're on Long Island, you got a single-family home, you'll probably charge at home. All the time, you're kind of set. But if you live in an apartment, condo, a multi-unit dwelling, and you want to go electric, there's always that conversation of like, well, can I charge at home? And if I can charge at home, how on earth do I do that? And you've developed out a pretty awesome system by which people can really have a lot of insight into how to make that happen for themselves. But it's really the system by which you did it, business model, and even how drivers can have control over it through the time that they own their car and live in multi-unit dwellings is really cool. So, well, again, I'm taking a lot of your thunder right now, but Stephan, tell us more about Moon 5.
Yeah, so the echo's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, we got you. Dylan, we're good.
Okay, so the benefit of Moon 5's system is that generally if you are living in a multifamily home, you really don't have any autonomy for your EV charging choices, right? So you can either go to maybe a DC fast charger nearby or maybe a L2 that might be in your basement if you're lucky, right?
You got to go find your fill-up though, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Find your fill-up. You don't have the sort of common amenity of being able to actually just go to your spot, plug in and charge, right? But what we are doing is enabling that to happen by taking sort of excess power that would otherwise be going to your apartment and dedicating it towards your vehicle. So our technology enables you to create a sort of a line split between the two. So we monitor the amount of power that's going to your apartment. When you're not consuming the full amount of power that is going to your apartment, you can instead dedicate it towards your vehicle. We come in and we actually offer you as a tenant $50 a month, $0 down for that dedicated service. And through that, we come in and we sell the infrastructure, the charger, everything, and we actually sell directly to you as a tenant. We actually don't. We are not going after property owners, and what we do is we empower you with the amount of information that you need to go up and like say, hey, property owner, like there is really not a good value in installing charging right now, right? It's like it can be really expensive up front. You require utility involvement, all these sort of like really complicated parts of actually just getting charging in to begin with. And it's also really sort of, you don't understand how long the time period can be too, right? Because I've talked with property owners who have had 3-year wait times to get service upgrades.
It can be nuts.
Yeah. And so with that like insane sort of like and sort of unexpected costs and timelines, this really kind of makes it an easy decision where it's like you give them those options. You say, hey, I really don't want to pay for it. And here's Moon 5, right? And Moon 5 for the property owner, there's no cost up front. There's no reoccurring fee. They get revenue share through the process. And at the end of the time of their sort of contract time period, they get to keep the infrastructure. And so it really makes it a good deal for the property owner as well.
Well, and this is something that you can appreciate because you and I have talked a little bit about this already, about that complicated factor of how do you help someone feel they have agency over their charging experience when they don't own a home. And so from your perspective, again, everything you just described, is this checking all the boxes for the headaches that you know exist? I mean, is there anything that Stephan hasn't hit on yet?
Okay, well, I'll be very like New York City specific here.
Okay.
Because where I live, we don't have parking spots.
Right.
So that would be one limitation to what you're doing. But although I'll come on to that.
But you got to know people that are in a similar situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think to the extent that if you have a space and you have electricity, then this seems like a great solution. If you can cut the landlord out of any transaction, I think that's generally a good thing.
Yeah, well, that's probably the biggest thing, right? Is that oftentimes, I mean, tenants are looking for support. They're looking for help, and if they go to whoever they're paying their rent to, and they just get a brick wall because those people don't have the answers, they're going to say, "Look, we've never even looked into this. We don't know how to help you."
Yeah,
but you give them the ability to go to them and say, "Actually, you can just do this."
Yeah.
What's that process like?
Yeah, so it's a pretty straightforward process, right? You come to us, and we essentially, because we're financing the play, essentially, right? We need to determine basically whether or not it's a good investment for us, essentially, right? Because we need to know if you're going to be, your electrical meter is on the other side of the entire lot and a mile and a half away, then maybe it's not the best sort of like cost-effective mechanism for us to deploy.
Sure.
But if a lot of the times in parking garages, it is co-located with the electrical room. And so those very sort of short line runs are really easy for us to come in and be able to actually install an infrastructure for you. So we make a quick assessment on that, and then if you guys are good to go, we have that sort of bottoms-up escalation from you to the property owner.
So you have a team that goes in and does the assessment on behalf of the person that contacts you?
Actually, well, we can collect some information up front from the actual renter to be able to make that general assessment, and then as needed, we can send an electrician in to be able to actually do the sort of next step assessment.
That's hard for a lot. I mean, even if you're a homeowner, the amount of times I talk to folks, you say, hey, you can fill up at home. And they say, okay, what does that mean? It's like, well, do you have a garage or a driveway? Yeah. Well, where's your breaker box? I think it's in the basement. It might be in the garage. I don't know. So these are things that everybody has to contend with, but there's little check boxes, I think, that the people that don't have control of their parking spot to the same extent a homeowner might need to have these answers.
I mean, you're making it sound, is it fair to say it's kind of akin to like having cable installed at home?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's
Great
actually a really great analogy that I like to use a lot. Actually, is that like essentially we're creating the sort of hookups for you, right? And so what we do actually is we create the technology as well as the infrastructure, and those actually are able to be easily decoupled from each other. So not only is it actually easy to maintain because it's actually user replaceable and user repairable, but you also have the capability of if you move, you can send it back, and the hardware doesn't just sit there and degrade in the field as well.
Actually, that's a great point, because stranded assets are a huge conversation
100%.
oftentimes in the industry, where there's all that effort to be made to install some infrastructure, and then for some reason the utilization isn't there anymore, and the next time someone looks at it, it's like, that is the biggest spider web I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but this, from your perspective, is really creating efficiencies around how we fill these gaps, but also we don't waste anything.
100%.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I do want to hit on too is that we aren't just focused on how to deliver power, but also the fact that these vehicles are actually massive batteries, right? The vehicles can be actually about 10 times the size of a Tesla Powerwall, and so not only can you deliver power to that vehicle so that you can move around, but you can actually use the vehicle to make money, right?
So so oftentimes, so if you're listening to this conversation, we hear the V2X.
Yes.
The V2X play. What is V2X? So vehicle to something. The X means the something. So sometimes it's V to H, vehicle to home, V to L, vehicle to load, V to G, vehicle to grid. So, but at an apartment, to have that 100%. As a factor, how on earth are you managing that for an individual apartment owner, or renter rather?
Yeah, so the way that we wire really plays into that, right? So typically when you are doing a multifamily home electrification play, you are going off of house or common power, which is the power doesn't have a path to go back to, right? And so what we are doing is, by wiring directly off of the individual tenant's meter, we create this sort of electrical pathway back to the actual tenant's apartment. And so we have the ability to isolate from the grid if the grid goes down, to enable power flow from your vehicle back to your apartment.
Wow.
I got questions. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So you're not feeding back to the grid, but
we can feed back to the grid as well.
You can as well.
Yeah.
But the grid, the local utility has to be set up to accept that, presumably.
Yes, yeah. So of course there's definitely utility involvement when you get to that point, but there's there's impacts at the apartment level, the building level, and the grid level,
right.
For what you can do with that energy.
But predominantly, we're talking, this is a home backup play for renters.
100%.
So if someone is in a, again, they're renting an apartment, there's, I don't know how many units might be there, but if the setup works well for what you're describing, if the power went out and they're, let's say, in Florida, but they had this set up this way, they could be hanging out going, well, I got an F-150 Lightning parked in my
100%.
Parking spot, and boy, I've got power for I don't know how long, but a while. That is, Stephan, that is awesome, dude. Yeah. Like, that is a seriously cool value proposition for renters.
Is that dependent on the vehicle that the tenant had?
Yep.
Yes, well, yes and no. So I'll say that
there's always fine print.
Yeah. So the sort of addendum here is that there are definitely systems like Tesla that don't really want to enable bidirectionality, because
their new ones do. Let me say that they do.
Yes.
But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. And so there's two types of output from a vehicle. You can either do DC output or AC output. Ours support both. So we enable ways of being able to not increase your wiring cost at all, but still enable for both AC and DC output to then be converted into AC power that can then either feed it into your apartment when the power is out, or to even like lower your energy bill, right? Because that's what like a Powerwall would do. There's no real difference.
Dude, my God, this is everything you're describing. The amount of times I've had conversations with apartment dwellers where they go, yeah, that's nice, but I don't own a house. You are creating the conversation by which they could just basically have the same exact benefits as a homeowner.
100%. And
very cool.
Electrically, I like to think about this as sort of creating single-family home-like topography in the multifamily home space. And so you're sort of giving the renter the autonomy to opt into the system, and it could actually make you money too, right? And so being able to feed back into the grid to be able to support sort of the, different loads that happen due to like renewables and like feedback when the grid is like over constrained, like that enables you to actually make money.
But to Daniel's question, so it is vehicle dependent though to have some of these benefits though.
To some degree, but the industry is heading towards that vehicle bidirectionality, and so a majority of vehicles, even the ones that Tesla doesn't say is bidirectional, can be bidirectional. And so you'll see sort of on like, if you look on like YouTube or whatever, you'll see.
I've seen a few of these videos, yeah.
And it's like third-party systems that essentially trick the car into thinking that it's a DC fast charger.
Did it. I think Decibel did a test.
Yeah, there's a couple of folks that have done it, but essentially it tricks the car into thinking that it's a DC fast charger, exposes that DC bus, and then enables you to draw power out of that DC bus. There's no sort of like black magic to withdrawing that.
But that's a warranty voiding moment.
Yeah. I mean, we're not playing into that space, and we're definitely working with automotive.
Every OEM around here that just heard that, they're like, no.
We're definitely working with the automotive industry.
Okay, so before we get ourselves into any more trouble, so
yeah, exactly.
Just lay it out for me. If I'm a renter of an apartment, so what is the deal? What am I paying you guys, and what am I paying overall in order to charge my vehicle?
Yeah, so I mean, what we are charging is really just for the hardware itself and for the maintenance of the hardware. And so that $50 a month is really going to be so that we own the actual maintenance. So if something breaks down, like I mentioned before, it's user repairable, you can literally just take off the head or the EVSE unit itself from the energy dock and then send that back to us, and we'll send you a new one. And so you can just plop it on. That way you don't have to wait for an electrician to be involved as well, because the thing is that there's also a decrease in electrician availability around the world as well too. Just fewer people are going into trade school, and so the electricians that are there are less available and they're more expensive. And so maintaining a system that is currently sort of just like hardwired in requires a skill set that really shouldn't be involved. Right? I mean, it's like, do you need an electrician to change your TV? The answer is no, right? You have a plug.
If you can make it, if you can make the actual EVSE as simple to replace and
100%.
actually do maintenance on, that's better. Yeah. So no, I mean, to your point, so literally, cost up front is $50.
Yes.
That's it.
$50 a month, that's all.
Is there like do you 36-month commitment?
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I pay the electrical costs based on my electrical bill.
Yes, yeah. So it's 100% downstream of your utility meter, and so you just pay your utility bill like normal. And so any kilowatts that you're consuming in the vehicle, you're actually just pulling from your own utility meter.
And like the cool thing about that though is even with an additional $50, is saying we've offered this service to you. Depending on where you live, the cost for electricity compared to the cost of gas, you're still going to save money.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, the funny thing is that this actually makes electric vehicle adoption in the Midwest even better. Because you can imagine, so the DC fast charger rates are pretty consistent across the United States. Like if you're in Ohio, it's going to be pretty much the same as if you're going to be in New York. But the energy rates themselves are actually significantly lower in the multifamily home space and just in general residential in those Midwest states. And so the delta between the two, if you're consuming more miles, which you typically would be in that multifamily home setting, or just in the Midwest in general, that delta is going to be bigger, right? So you can save anywhere. In the coast, you can save anywhere from $80 to $110 a month on average. But if you're like, let's say, driving several hundred miles in the Midwest, you'll save $200 plus.
Yeah, people need some kind of, again, like a calculator. If you're in this zip code and you go with Moon 5 and you drive X miles a week, we can represent to you, this is probably what you'll be saving. Do you guys have anything like that?
We're working on it.
I think as a selling point, I think people are just going to go to that what is my grand total
100%,
kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that the takeaway is important too. Like, what actually is the delta there? And if you're saving money, but you're like paying some money in a different way, it can be a little bit confusing. But if you just calculate the grand total, that I think that's a good way to think about it.
Most people hear delta and they're like, I'm not flying anywhere.
But also, you don't.
We always nerd out. It's like, oh god, I meant the difference of you're going to save some money. It's fine.
Yeah, you're going to save money.
There's a clear value in the convenience, right? So it's not just about it's cheaper for me to charge at home using your service than it would be at in a gas station or a DC fast charger. But it's also I can just charge it at home and don't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah,
and so I think fundamentally we're not just saving people on cost, but also on time and convenience, right? I mean, it's like, I know people, so I've heard of stories in like with the level 2s in multifamily homes, like there's like ballets in certain places because there's like so many EVs, it doesn't scale, and so they're literally just having people
like
move
sign-in sheets. I've seen like, I promise I'll be back at 8 o'clock.
Exactly.
This isn't sustainable.
Well, and it's also just like it makes it a pain in the butt if you're actually driving an EV and you live in a multifamily home, and they're just given the housing shortage in general, there are more people and there will be more people living in multifamily homes, so there needs to be a good solution for that to work.
I got to be honest. I mean, one of the things I see all the time on like owners groups on social media where they have questions like this, and we as an industry have always kind of just defaulted to the idea of like, you just plug it at home. Why are you worried? You just plug it at home. It's like 50% of America can't. That's the thing. So the moment we just default to saying that's why it's so great, it's like if you say that to someone who says, yeah, that's good for you, but I rent. I watch those conversations happen all the time. I will for sure in the future say, okay, but there are solutions for this that you can actually get this type of a benefit.
Well, and so to that point, about 80% of charging is done at home if you live in a single family home. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard people be like, I would love to drive EV, but the but is always that I can't charge, right? And it's like, oh, then I'm going to be spending the weekend at a DC fast charger, waiting in lines, and like all that pain in the butt, right? It's like you're getting the convenience of being able to charge everywhere, but only being able to charge at the most expensive, most inconvenient place.
Right. Well, this is it's that combination. It's not. We have to have both options because even again, I'm a homeowner. I charge at home almost all the time virtually, but it's that road trip moment. You need to have that fast charge, and it's educating people on those different use cases. But to your point, a lot of the renters and people who don't have the option, they just think to themselves, my fill up has to be fast or fast enough that it's not, as you said, it's still about a convenience factor and it's saving time.
How fast are the chargers?
Yeah, exactly. So they're 7.7 kilowatts. So it's not a super fast charger, but it enables you to get somewhere like 240 miles overnight, which is more, like significantly more than anyone actually drives most of the time.
Yeah, if you're driving as a sales rep, you might need that every night. But a lot of folks are going to, again, they do drive a lot if they are renters for various reasons, but they're not driving 250 miles a day.
Oh, 100%.
They might be driving 100, but you can get that back overnight.
Exactly, yeah.
So I got to be honest, Stephan. This is an awesome conversation.
Thanks.
So for those who are listening, if you do not own a single family home and you're here test driving EVs today and you rent or you don't have the option to charge at home, you need to look up Moon 5. Like the Moon 5 technology, what you guys are doing, I think is a genuine. It just reduces the pain points, it smooths the runway, and it gives people the option that they can say, I don't have a single family home where I park at night, but I do park somewhere at night where it is my spot.
Exactly, and I think the one thing that's really nice too is that you don't have to have an EV in order to be able to sign up for our services, right? So you can get on the wait list now, and if you, like when we start actually deploying more widely, you can have that like sort of conversation before you even get an EV, right? Or like alongside getting an EV, right? You can be at your dealership and having that conversation of like, oh, I want to get an EV. It's like, what are my options? It's like, oh, there's Moon 5, and you can go sign up, get that infrastructure in before you even get your vehicle. And so that actually enables people to actually purchase EVs, not just to actually charge existing EVs as well.
And if you don't have an EV, you could maybe charge your neighbors to charge their EVs instead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you really want to.
It's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I was smart enough to get a Moon 5 installed, and you can just fill up off of my house, my little apartment.
We are going to be supporting peer-to-peer as well in the future, so you could actually just be your local gas station if you want to.
You got neighbors Venmoing each other all the time. It's like, dude, you're upcharging me. What the heck? It's like, I was watching the game and you plugged in, dude. Like, it bothered me.
$2 per kilowatt hour is very reasonable.
Yeah, exactly, right. Nowhere. Maybe in hell. So, I got to ask, what did you do before Moon 5?
I have a varied background. So actually, my degree is in astrophysics.
Okay, now we're getting into it. Okay.
And I worked in spacecraft and self-driving cars at Google, Planet Labs, and Amazon.
Okay.
So I kind of was more in the hardware space, but I was kind of, I wanted to work on climate-related activities, and I kind of was, but it was really just observation. It wasn't actually action. And so when I was looking at the list of ideas that I'd come up with over the course of time, I was like, this one seems very actionable. It seems like a way that you can have a good amount of impact, and it really sort of blew up, right? Because it's like we're not just creating charging, we're also creating this ability to affect the grid, affect the building, and so it's really this energy ecosystem that we're creating at the end of the day, which enables a bunch of things.
But it's human centric. I think that's the biggest part. It's not industry saying we'll solve this for you. Just sit down. We'll come back to you. No, I think in that sense it's very important. You're giving agency to people, and that's going to be the big game changer for how I think people will find what you're doing, and frankly be really happy about it. So anything else we want to cover? I think we've hit on a lot.
I think we've hit on everything.
Well, Stephan, this is awesome work. Again, if you're listening, this is the EV Reality Check booth. It's powered by GreenCars.com. We're sitting here right now with Stephan Ng from Moon 5 Technologies. If you are a renter and you don't own a single-family home and you say, how do I charge at home? Check out Moon 5 Technologies. How do they find you? Where do they find you?
You can find us at moon5.tech.
All right, there you go.